This evening, you're going to hear from the leadership of Jefferson Academy, Eliot-Hine Middle School, Stuart-Hobson Middle School, and Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan. The Jefferson Academy principal, Allison Howard, is not able to be with us this evening, and we're joined by Danae Clark, who is the 8th grade assistant principal at Jefferson. Also, Marlene Magrino with Eliot-Hine is running just a little bit late. She's gotten caught up in State of the Union traffic, so she's going to be joining us in just a few minutes. Each of the school leaders will give some brief remarks, and then Denise Forte, who is our moderator this evening, will engage them in a discussion. You're welcome to put your questions in the chat throughout the discussion. We will monitor the chat and try our best to get through as many of your questions as possible. Sandra Moscoso is our Zoom master for the evening, and Sandra is going to put up a few polls throughout the evening that we encourage you to participate in. I'd like to introduce Denise Forte, who is our moderator. Denise is the CEO and president of Ed Trust, which is an organization that advocates for the high achievement of all students, and particularly those of color or living in poverty. Denise has more than 2 decades of experience working in the federal legislative and executive branches on education and family policy. And she's well-versed in Ward 6 middle school issues because she's the parent of a Stuart-Hobson graduate. So with that, I want to turn it over to Denise.
Thanks, Suzanne. It's so good to be here. I think I've missed a couple years, so I'm glad to be back. I
We're
just want
happy.
folks to know that Sarah, I'm a proud Ward 6, now 7 parent, but my kids did go to school in Ward 6, school within school, and both of them also attended Stuart-Hobson. And my eldest now is a senior at Duke Ellington. And then I have another one at DC International. So I'm just really excited to be here with you. Um, we're going to be taking questions in the chat, but first things first, let's hear from these amazing principals. I'm going to go in alphabetical order, and let me introduce Principal Kim Atuchwam, who is the principal of Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan, 30 years of experience in education, began as a science teacher, yay science, at Harriet Tubman, and then at Benjamin Banneker. She was also the principal at J.C. Null for 12 years before becoming the principal at Logan Montessori. And y'all, she was selected as the DC Teacher of the Year, so kudos for that, 2006, and a Rubenstein awardee for highly effective leadership in 2016. So, Principal Detwam, I'm going to turn it over to you to share some opening thoughts. If we can, let's keep it at a couple minutes so we can keep this thing going. So, thank you.
Thank you, Denise, and hi, colleagues and family members. Welcome. I am Kim Aducham, and I'm so proud to be the principal of the only pre-K 3 through 8th grade Montessori school in DCPS. Yay. I'm so happy to serve so many families, and particularly just love serving the middle school community because they need us more at the middle school level, I would say, than almost any other level, because they're navigating. Do I believe in myself? Does anyone see me? Does anyone love me? I'm so afraid of what's getting ready to happen when I leave to go to 9th grade. And it's always been so great that I can be there to continue to be a stabilizing force, and been in DC public schools for a very, very long time. And it's definitely by choice, because I love the children, I love the families, and I love providing stability and consistency for students, because I believe it gives them and their families an opportunity to know that someone has the back of their children.
Thank you. And look at you. You know how to do it right. Thank you so much. AP Clark, we are so glad to have you, assistant principal at Jefferson Academy. Um, I'm gonna give you 3 minutes because I don't have your background, and I think it's important that you share a little bit about you and your history at Jefferson.
Hi, everyone. First and foremost, I am so grateful to be a part of this panel with these other amazing principals that I've heard so much about, as well as all of you, family. So first and foremost, thank you. I love being here. Secondly, just a little bit about me. This is my 13th year in education. I actually wanted to be a lawyer, so I joined TFA like my principal. And I thought that it was going to be a resume builder. And then I just fell in love with the work that I'm doing and felt like this was my call and my passion. And it has really been my joy for the last 13, almost 14 years. I started my time in New York City, and then I've moved down to DC, where I was at KIPP for about 5 years, and then I've moved my way over to DC. So now this is DCPS. So now this is my 4th year in DCPS. As far as a little bit about who I am, as I've said previously, I've only been in middle school since I've started. Middle school is a very special place. I love the work of middle school students. And just backing off of Principal Adewam. I don't want to mess it up. I'm sorry.
Aducham.
Aducham. Thank you. Piggybacking off of her, the kids do want to be seen. They want to be valued. They want to know that the people here care about them, even when they make their mistakes, because they do make some very interesting mistakes. And they want to know that you are their champion, that you are there to see them through and through, and that you truly believe in them. And so that's the thing that I love about middle school. I say that you're dealing with 3-year-olds, 13-year-olds, and 30-year-olds all at the same time. And so that is why I really enjoy the work of middle school.
Thank you. That was great, AP Clark, and welcome.
Thank you.
Let me now turn to Principal Fraser. Principal Fraser has been the leader at Stuart-Hobson for a while now, and like I said, both of my kids went there, so I've been able to see his leadership up front. And it was a real pleasure to have my kids go there, and they were really proud to be at Stuart-Hobson. You can't believe it by looking at his face because he's still got the blackest hair I've ever seen, but apparently 25 years of experience in education, most of his career at New York City Public Schools, so he should be completely gray like me, and the last 10 years here at DCPS. Principal Fraser.
Thank you, Ms. Fort. And thank you, Sandra and Suzanne, for inviting us to do this panel again this year. This is always a night that we look forward to as principals. And it's a great, so I think it's one of the only times we get to come together. So we appreciate the opportunity tonight. I would just like to build on what Principal Aducham and AP Clark have already shared about like middle school. The reason I continue to choose the middle grades, they're 3 of the most dynamic years in young people's lives. And I think it's a critical moment in their lives to keep doors of opportunity open for them in the future. And that's what I'm also very proud of, the work that the educators at Stuart-Hobson and the families do together, which is I think we do a great job of keeping those doors of opportunity open and spending 3 years working to find interests that students can latch onto. So we expect that when they look back on their time with us, they'll remember the athletic teams, the arts programs they were a part of, more so even than maybe some of the academic courses that they've had. So we really, we do value the high expectations that our teachers have, the high performance that our students put out every year. And then we're just really proud of the arts programs that we have at our school, our drama program or our musical theater program, the many different band ensembles we have. We have one of the only go-go bands in the city, which is a point of pride for us. And then we have visual arts and other programs, and we know that those things attract students, and they're also very important communities for students to find peers in developmentally. So I think those are the things that I'm most proud of, and they also that's why I want to go to work, is to go see the kids engage with all those different activities during the school day. So thank you again for having us here tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you. Um, I'm going to turn next to Principal Williams, our new principal at Eastern High School. We're excited to have you here, and please give us a little more information about your background. I understand you've been with DCPS for 10 years. You were a special education aide, shout out for that, social studies department chair, dean of students, multiple other leadership positions, and the founding principal at Ron Brown College Prep, which is amazing. Uh, Assistant principal at Benjamin Banneker before Eastern. So thank you so much for joining us. Do you have any opening thoughts for us?
Yeah, I want to first say that I agree with Ms. Moscaso in the chat. Eric, it's not fair that you get to have nice hair and it's still black. So congratulations to you, sir. Um, Secondly, Miss Wells, I miscounted. I didn't realize I have been doing this as long as I have. I've been in DCPS now for 13 years and have been in education since way more years than I want to count and say out loud now. And I realize that, my colleagues here are middle school and pre-K 3 through eighth grade. And I've had the fortunate pleasure of working from pre-K 3 all the way through higher ed, as well as working in several counties in Virginia, Newark, New Jersey, charter school, DC, and now DCPS. And I think every sector, every grade level matters. And I think, for the conversations and purposes, I think as Principal Frazier stated, having us all on the same call is valuable because we get to hear and understand the vertical conversations that need to be had, which I think drive our work to be better. And just hearing Eric talk, excuse me, Principal Frazier talk about the music program and the go-go program. I know we have a band that might be very interested in some of those drummers, and so just having an understanding of what's going on in the feeder patterns as a whole, and preschool 3 all the way through eighth grade is valuable for us, and hearing from the parents for us to have our 12-year outlook for those who are going into pre-K 3 next year, or what is it going to look like for the next 13, 14 years of their academic lives, and our hopefully in our feeder pattern. And so first year, we're starting to get our feet grounded and understanding the different dynamics that the Capitol Hill cluster and being almost a citywide high school, what that brings to us. But we're growing and we're here because we just tipped the 1,000 mark as far as student enrollment. And so it just shows that we are starting to entrust our schools and our school leaders in the cluster to educate our young people all the way through 12th grade. And so with the Commander Stadium, although I'm not a Commanders fan, with the Commander Stadium coming, I anticipate that we can all work together to ensure that the pathways are set forth in motion very early in your young people's schooling career. And so we know that off-ramps and on-ramps are different pathways, but at least we have an understanding of what will be provided, especially when they get to the high school years.
Thank you, Principal Williams, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Uh, Principal Macarino, we're so glad. We're sorry you got caught up in the State of the Union traffic, but we're really glad to have you here. Principal Macarino is our principal at Eliot-Hine, and 26, I don't know how you all are doing it. And again, both Eric and Marlene, Principal Williams looks like he's 18. Danae is 18. Don't mean to age y'all, but look, 26 years in education with Principal Magrino, working in the district, public, charter, private, and alternative school settings. She's seen it all. Her ninth year at Eliot-Hines and with DCPS. Principal Magrino, we're just asking you to give us a couple of minutes about yourself and a few opening remarks, and then we'll move to discussion. Thank you again for joining us.
Sure, yeah. I apologize for being late. It's nice to see everybody, or to be with you virtually. My name's Marlene Magrino. I'm actually in my 8th year, so you guys are fast forwarding me to next year, but at DCPS and at Eliot-Hine. So all my time in DCPS formally has been at Eliot-Hine. I Founded a charter school before that. I've trained school leaders before that for DCPS and for an external organization. I was a consultant, a teacher, an administrator, also in charter schools, and I worked at a kind of a behavioral modification camp. I lived in the woods with a group of kids who stayed with me for like a year. Not just me, a bunch of us. So I have a lot of experience across almost all entirely actually with this age group. Kind of like the 10 to 15, 16 age group. I love the middle school age group because you get to see kids really like develop and come into their own. So they come in sixth grade as like little ones, and they leave in eighth grade as well, thinking that they're big ones, but certainly much more grown up. And so it's a really fun time to, to be able to experience and help facilitate a child's academic experience. So I really do love middle school, and I think people love it or hate it, but I really love it. And the kids definitely drive me. I've enjoyed very much seeing the transformation and being a part of the transformation at Eliot-Hine. And we have a really strong program. So I have a lot of vision in terms of where I hope we continue to go from here. Plenty of places where we still want to grow, and I tend to be very transparent about that, but also tons of things to be proud of and to celebrate. So I don't know if you want more information about the school itself, or
we'll ask a little bit more about that later, but thank you so much. And look, every principal on this Zoom has a lot to be proud of. I've lived here for a while now, and I've seen the growth and the excitement around our Ward 6 middle schools and Eastern High School. So let's move into the discussion portion of the evening. And let me start with a very general question. What do you all think constitutes a successful middle school? And give us some more examples about what makes your school successful. And I really want to make sure everybody gets a chance on this one. So I'm sorry about this because I think this is like one of the better questions I have for you, but give us like a minute and a half. Like, what's the elevator pitch here? We're going to start with you, Principal Rufino.
Sure. So I kind of just alluded to this. I think that one thing that makes a really successful middle school is students being in a place where they feel safe to learn more about themselves, to become the person they want to be, to explore lots of different opportunities and experiences. I believe very strongly that we should expose students to as much as possible, because that's how you find passions that you otherwise may not even know that you're interested in. So that's what we aim to do at Eliot-Hine. We are a middle years IB program. So students take academics in 8 core content classes, which includes the arts, which includes design, and all the other subjects you would expect as well, including world language. And then on top of that, we just have tons of experiences, whether it's author visits coming in or lots of learning in the field, going on different types of field trips and experiences. The students do a lot of hands-on projects, which IB is really all about, like applying your learning, lots of service learning. They do an IB project in 8th grade that all students at IB schools across the world actually do, where they have a community that they really want to help, and they research what needs to happen to help that community. And then they come up with a proposal and put it in place, and then do a whole presentation about their learning process, not just the results, but the learning process. So those types of experiences, I think, are truly what prepare students to be the best human they can be. So obviously we want kids to read, we want them to do math, we want them to write well, we want all of those things that we expect of a school to be a high quality school. But for Eliot-Hine, me and my vision, it's really about all of those other experiences that give a child just, rich exposure that they can then carry into their futures.
Thank you. AP Clark, can you join the conversation?
Yes. A lot of what Principal Magrino already said, we're doing the same thing at Jefferson. One of the biggest things that I would say that makes middle school really special, especially at Jefferson, yes, we care about academics, but most importantly, we care about relationships and students' identity, right? So we're not just caring about students attending school. We want them to feel like they belong here. This is their home away from home. And so in the ways in which we do that, we are really committed. So my first few years at Jefferson, we had 5 cohorts where the classes were really, really big. And so this year we moved to 6 cohorts so that it's more intimate and kids feel seen. They feel like they're well known by their teachers. We've also created signature experiences on each grade level. There is a social worker dedicated to each grade level. And so we are really like catered to each grade level's experience, and making sure that they are feeling seen, heard, and valued at all points of the day and the year.
Thank you, Principal Dutchman.
Sure. So to have a really good middle school experience for students, you have to know what snacks they like. They're always hungry. So if you could figure that out, but in all seriousness, I believe that one of the assets of Capitol Hill Montessori is that we're small enough so that we truly know each student and we can personalize instruction. We can really meet them where they are. And another benefit is that students who've been with us have a connection all the way back to pre-K 3 if they've come in at the elementary school level, because at the time of middle school, there's a lot of emotional upheaval. On your best day, you're still questioning your judgment. If you're smart, am I going to be successful? And they always have an adult that they can reach back to. And even if you join us as a new 6th grade students, we have a community of students who have been taught something called grace and courtesy, where they're able to welcome in and have everyone feel like they're not brand new to the school, like they're part of the community. And another benefit is that we are a great social experiment because we have students from wards 1 through 8 coalescing in one tiny space. So they have to learn how to appreciate and embrace diversity, and as well as being okay to sharing and to helping one another. And I think that being able to provide that personalized attention to students at a very critical time in their development is also a hallmark of why I think our school is special.
Thank you, Principal Fraser.
Yeah, I think what makes middle school special in general, I think as Principal Magrino said, what really resonated with me was it's a really safe place for students to explore their interests and also I think who they are. Because as a middle school parent, you will get kind of countless versions of your student coming home every day. And they're just trying on identities and they're trying on communities and they're figuring out boundaries. And all that's just, I think, work around personal safety. So I think great middle schools, will help students to explore all of that safely. And also when they leave, students will feel good about the version of themselves that's walking out of there and onto high school. And as I mentioned earlier, I think they'll still have many doors of opportunity open. Ideally, middle school will have opened even more, doors of opportunity or doors of interest, or pathways of interest. And I think they'd leave feeling like they were part of something bigger than they were, whether it's, an activity or just the school community as a whole. I think what we do to try to make those things happen at Stewart, we have over 500 students, but we really focus on building a cohort identity with each of our grade levels. So we have dedicated assistant principals for each grade level, counselors, social workers, and support staff who work with those students. And they do a lot of activities together just as a grade level to break down their elementary school identity and build that Stuart-Hobson 6th grade identity. And then we push students to get involved in something outside of school, whether it's an athletic team, the theater program, one of the band ensembles, and we also have debate program and a mock trial program that we're very proud of. So we're working to find things across kind of the student interest spectrum to give everybody at least one thing to anchor into. And we find too that when students do that, they also specialize in something for 3 years. And then when they apply to application high schools in the area and in DCPS, they're very competitive applicants for those specialized programs at Banneker and McKinley Tech and School Without Walls and Phelps. So we're and Duke Ellington. And we're just, I think we're in a lot of ways we're living that vision that I have for what makes middle school great when it is.
Thank you so much. And what really resonated with me, and all of you spoke to this, which is awesome, is the really, pushing in and leaning in on the fact that these kids are at different developmental stages. Like every day, almost every hour, I have a different kid who walks through my door every afternoon. So I totally get that, my eighth grader. Um, so I really, really appreciate that. And the next place I want to go, and I'm going to also invite Principal Williams into this conversation, is a major part of a successful middle school is making sure that every student is on grade level and helping them to meet those expectations and enabling them to reach as high as possible. So, starting with Principal Dutchwam, I'd love to hear, how does your school actually help students reach grade level expectations and exceed grade level expectations when possible? Especially when we have kiddos who do enter in at different places.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So we have to take an all hands on deck approach. We know that what the classroom teacher does is just one arm of what's needed. We also ensure that within our schedule, we do a block schedule. So for one, students are not inundated by all 6 of their classes every single day. They travel on an A day, B day, and then they have all classes on a Friday so that they can finish any work that they didn't finish, or they can get ahead. And we also intentionally incorporated something called a win block, what I need. So during that time, when students who are lagging behind, that's a time where students receive intensive tutoring, intensive support, and they're not being pulled out of their core content class for support. So a lot of times there's a juxtaposition of providing support for student, but you're pulling them out of a science class or a math class or ELA class. And so we intentionally utilize the 80-minute block for them to get ahead on where they may need to get ahead on, or to be pulled and supported to give additional math, or to be given additional ELA support to bring them on grade level. And then we try one more at bat after school. We extend the opportunity for them to get support during the after school programming. So that's 3 different efforts on any given day in trying to bring students up to grade level. And we try to really look at their skill deficits, because a lot of times we don't drill down to the skill level of what students need, and then you're not seeing them reach to the grade level content. And at the same time, we are working with them on grade level content information. We're not doing remediation, because they would take years to catch up if we're only giving them things that they have missed. So we provide, of course, strong, robust instruction, but we also provide supplemental tutoring that they need during the school day and after, to ensure that they're meeting grade level expectations and exceeding it.
Thank you. AP Clark, at Jefferson? What about Jefferson?
At Jefferson, we recognize that we have students with a variety of academic needs. We have students who are performing well above grade level and need to be challenged. And then we also have students who are performing significantly below grade level, and we need to make sure we provide them with supports. And so for our students who are coming in significantly below grade level, we have an intervention block dedicated to them. And we have various interventions, because we know that intervention has to look very different for some of our kids. And so depending on their needs, like for our lowest level readers who might need some phonics support, We have DC Reading Clinic. And then for our students who might just need comprehension support, we have Read 180 and Starry as a reading intervention program. And so it just depends on what the student needs. We try to figure out what the best fit is for them based on like diagnostic exams. For math, one of the things that we're most proud of is that we do have advanced courses in math. A lot of our students, we have a few students in 7th grade currently that are currently taking algebra, which is a big deal because then next year they go right off to geometry. And so we make sure that we provide whatever it is that our kids need. If we don't have it, it's something that we are like, okay, we have these kids here who need this. So we try to make it happen for our kids because we never want them to feel like they have to go anywhere else to get what they need, where we feel like we can provide it for them. And so that's how we try to be as intentional as possible by providing small groups similar to Capitol Hill Montessori. We have WIN blocks as well, and then also providing those advanced courses.
Principal Magrino, Eliot-Hine, how do you make sure you are setting high expectations and getting all kids to grade level?
So I'll start with, we have obviously this, similar data to progress monitor students and to assign students to appropriate reading interventions or math interventions, etc. If students are coming in below grade level. So we also provide those, similar supports to the other schools. Our focus is, we kind of restructured our resources to put a lot of resources in 6th grade. So the goal is to bring as many 6th graders as possible up to grade level. So some combination of double blocking math or having smaller math classes, going more intensively into the interventions, etc. So that in 7th and 8th grade, students can take more advantage of the full IB program. So the IB program is like the framework of IB comes with kind of very high expectations, rubrics across all of the content areas. And we use supplemental IB curricular materials as well. So students read a lot of text, full books as well, versus like, I think there's more so now in education, there's also like sections of books being read, but we focus on complete novels and giving students a lot of choice, etc. And we found that when students have choice, like they choose book clubs, like if we're doing dystopian novels, they'll have a chance to choose the novel they want to read. And all of a sudden we see way more kids interested in having their nose in a book because they got to choose it. So we've just tried different things like that are responsive to students. We also have a Math Pathways program. So students in 6th grade, we use modern classrooms. So students kind of move at their own pace. And then the teacher spends the bulk of their class time, like 2/3 of the class time, pulling small groups. So kids are getting very targeted support from their teacher versus the bulk of time kind of teaching whole class. What we noticed was IM, which is the curriculum that DCPS uses, is fantastic. It's a fantastic curriculum. It's probably one of the best math curriculum I feel like I've seen, but it's not great. It's not easy to differentiate. And it's not really great for a class where you have varied learners at multiple levels. So the way that we've kind of met in the middle there is to use modern classrooms. So we do some of the work whole group, and then a lot of the work kids are doing kind of with videos and lessons from their instructors that are technology based, but then being pulled to do real like in-person instruction in small targeted groups to meet, whatever it is their needs are based on what we're seeing from them. And then students in 6th grade then can go from 6th to 7th to 8th, or they can go from 6th to 8th to algebra, or they can go from 6th to algebra to geometry. And we have 13 students, I think, this year in our geometry class, and they're doing very well. We've also partnered in years past with Eastern, and our students got to go over to Eastern to take geometry, which was a pretty cool experience for them, just to like get into high school and see what that was like. And then we use the IB writing rubric specifically. We have a school-wide initiative going on right now where students are writing in every single content area: music, physical health education, design, etc. Everybody has 2 graded like full writing assignments that are graded on the IB rubric per quarter. So 8 a year in each of the classes. And we put that in place because our students who were coming back from selective schools, especially, but also like selective programs like the EPIC program at Eastern, and saying, hey, we really need to write more. That's what we needed to do to be more prepared. So we've adjusted based on feedback that we've gotten from students and families. So those are some of the things that we're doing. Yeah.
That's so helpful. Principal Williams, just because Eastern was mentioned here, um, a question for you around the what Eastern does to sort of help with that transition, and also acknowledging that you're going to get some kids who enter at ninth grade and may not be on grade level or reading and math, and then you also have a lot of kids who are advanced. Um, does your program look a little bit different than middle schoolers, or how does that work? Middle school?
So, excuse me. One of the major barriers for young people who are coming in behind, especially in literacy, is that we teach through reading and not teaching how to read. And so what Principal Magrino described, we tried to build on that because we know, especially with our ninth grade academy, that there are many practices that Principal Magrino mentioned that can be brought into ninth grade academy to not only help students reach grade level work, but also to fill the gaps that students may have at the same time. Fortunately, a lot of our teachers are not taught how to teach young people how to read. They're taught how to teach young people through the text, through writing, through comprehension in what they're understanding. And so when you have a wide differentiated, when you have to differentiate for a wide group of learners in your space, we do our best. We're not, we're pushing our students through academic rigor as frequently as we possibly can, and then differentiating down versus trying to differentiate up. So helping our young people get to the expectation versus saying the expectation is lower. And oftentimes when there's a low expectation, students are going to perform to that low expectation. As Principal Magrino stated, we have multiple pathways in our building. We have the EPIC pathway, which leads to our IB diploma cohort, but we also have our biomedical program, but also looking at how do we engage young people with different CTE pathways and in strong feeder patterns, not in DC as much because we are a choice school system. But if you go outside of DC into Virginia and you look at how those feeder patterns work, the programming is attached to the high school because the high school is the hub of the feeder. And so you would trickle those different CTE pathways down to the middle schools because it preps students to be able to come into the high school, to be into those pathways and to be better prepared for those pathways. Something that we've been looking at this year, especially with our budget, is to look at literacy coaches, also reading specialists and numeracy specialists to help fill some of the gaps because not all students who are behind belong in special education. They just may have some gaps that need to be filled with some intentional support and looking at how do we do that in a way with the requirements of OSSE that demand that students have a certain amount of in-seat hours. And so some of it is creativity, some of it is personnel. And so as we dive a little bit deeper into how do we fill those gaps, leaning on our middle school feeders for the students who are coming into our building to say, all right, so what are some of the things that you all have seen that work well for the students that who have come through your school, and then kind of merge those all together to make it something that it becomes the Eastern way based off of based off of the leaders that have worked with the young people prior to them coming to Eastern High School.
You said so many rich things there, speaking to, sadly, a lot of teachers are not well informed on how to teach reading, particularly for adolescents, but also the pathways work around CTE. So thank you for that. I think that those are really important things for folks to be thinking about. Um, Principal Frazier, I want to move over to you, but ask you a different question, because, and you spoke to this a little bit, but just props to you for really thinking about how and recognizing the young people entering your school are, come in and with different likes and dislikes. And my, Duke Ellington kid, he found his love letter, his love language at middle school with your drama program. So, but can you talk to more of the extracurricular and sports activities that y'all offer? I've got another family I know who's loving the debate program. So kids are finding what really moves them and engages them, and that is like more than half the battle with middle schoolers.
Yeah. So is the question just around like what we offer
Yeah.
generally? Okay. Yeah, I think we try. It can be easier with sixth graders to compel students to stay after school for our free after school all stars program. I think as students get older, if you don't offer the things that they are interested in, or their friends are not going to things, they are not going to want to stay. So we always um, we have typically, I mean, many of our clubs have started from student interest. So they'll come to me and say, we want to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I'll tell them that we need to find a sponsor for that activity. So, um, yeah, those we just like for them to be intensive. We know a lot of families want their student to have something to do after school that's structured for an hour or two. So our we ask our activity sponsors to spend at least an hour a couple days a week doing a club. But the things that we offer that I think are most popular are the musical theater program, the band ensembles, which is jazz, orchestra, go-go, pep band. Um, we have had visual arts clubs after school. The debate team has won a couple national championships in the last 5 years, and that's through the Washington Urban Debate League. Mock trial is every Friday afternoon, and they're going to be having their mock trial, their actual trial on Monday evening down at one of the federal courthouses in front of a federal judge, which is a really fun night. Um, and then for students who aren't ready to commit to something big like that, we have smaller, you know, activities that don't have performances attached to them. So like craft and chat, which gives students time with a social worker after school to craft and connect with each other. This year we've been doing braidology and cosmetology once a week for our young ladies. We've had barbering clubs for young men. So all those things. We added HOSA this year. We have student leadership committee, or kind of student government. So all those different activities, I think, are just we're trying to find something for everybody, and that's really, I think, that's our approach, and those are our biggest programs.
Um, AP Clark, what's going on at Jefferson around after school extracurriculars? How are you keeping kids engaged?
Yeah, I think that is the thing. Similar to Principal Frazier, you can have all the programs you want, but if you don't have the things that kids are engaged in, you pretty much have an empty building. To just name some of the programs that we do have After School All Stars, which a few of our kids attend. We also have a lot of different partnerships and programs. So we have a mentoring program with Oasis. We really do try to pull from the community as much as possible to bring as many different partnerships in. But to be honest with you, the thing that the kids love the most are the sports that we offer. We offer many, many different sports. If I'm correct, and I'm probably wrong, but I think we have at least 13 to 15 different sports offered at our school. And that is where we find the most engagement. We have kids who are not naturally, I don't think they even thought they were athletes until they joined the program. And so I'm glad that we've had this opportunity that every season there's a sport that you can participate in, from football to basketball to softball to volleyball. to baseball in the spring. Currently, track is the coolest thing. Cheerleading is also a really big thing. And recently, we are on our way to get tennis. That's the new thing. Soccer is the new thing that we're working on. We have that with DC Scores right now, but we also want to be a part of DCIAA's soccer program. And so I think that is the thing that makes Jefferson unique, is the sports that we offer. And that it has a lot to do with with our athletic director, Coach Hines. I think he's done a really, really great job of building an amazing sports program. And it's the same thing with after school. I'm also grateful for our teachers outside of the partnerships. A lot of the programs and clubs that we have after school is because our teachers give up their time to give students the opportunity to do the things that they love. So we have a chess club. Children were like, I want a chess club. Okay. And a teacher gave up their time. We have an anime club. Teachers give up their time and they have this weekly anime club. We have this iReady club. And iReady Club is just the opportunity for kids to come in on Wednesdays and Thursdays, a part of study hall, and do their work and do iReady. And so I'm just really grateful to, one, have as many partnerships as we have that come in and pour into our school. But also I'm grateful for our teachers who give up so much of their time, who are working from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., but saying they're still going to dedicate an extra hour so that the kids can really have a club that's dedicated to their interests. And then I'm also grateful for our athletic director, who's definitely put in the work to make sure that Jefferson has almost every sport you can think of that kids can join.
Principal Aditchwam, after school and sports activities at Logan.
Yeah, so we do have Polite Piggies that services all the way up to middle school. So they do get a lot of one-off opportunities with personalized choices around chess, around dance, around band, and those types of things. We're also in DCIA finally for basketball for both elementary and middle school. We have girls on the run, we have cross country, track, we have indoor, we have outdoor. Actually, elementary and middle school had their track meet today. We also have debate is back, and they're having a good time at debate. So much so, our 8th graders are going to be debating the importance of STEM based on the Black History theme. So we have our open house for Black History celebration for families tomorrow, and they'll be able to hear our 8th graders debate their topics. They've fallen in love. They also love we notice also that they love anything government related. So we've participated with the YMCA Youth Legislative Programs, where they get to craft bills, get to present their bills. And it's so interesting that there's certain times you have cohorts that are fully into art, where you have everyone in the art club, and then all of a sudden you have everyone in the debate club, and then everyone wants to be a legislator. But we also have kids who like to put their hands in the dirt. So we have the garden club, and we have, we are landlocked, but we try to utilize as many of the outdoor spaces. So kids are planting, growing, and harvesting. We offer varied math clubs that yield the students competing against other DC public school students through the various math competitions that happen throughout the year. And that gives them a chance to really enjoy solving problems, advanced math problems. Let's see, our music teacher, she's amazing. She gives the students opportunities to be a part of the choir after school, learn particular instruments, become a part of the orchestra club. And then we try to curate experiences across the middle school so that even if they can't do things after school, we do all middle school. For example, all the middle schoolers who signed up went skiing last week. And then we do a lot of theater events. And so while we may not be able to capture everyone after school, we also try to make sure that some extracurricular interests are kind of woven into the day, which is a part of the Montessori philosophy.
Thank you. Principal Magrino, I'm going to ask you to also comment about your extracurricular and sports activities. But then I also want you to kick off a conversation about how technology is used in your schools, and then I'll invite other folks in. Um, Not only how it's used, but what, these days this is a big subject, right? What role do you see technology playing in middle school education? Love to get your thoughts on that.
Sure. So we're at 511 students this year, and we were at 200 8 years ago when I came on board. So we've grown rapidly, which means we've also added tons of activities. I think we have 17 competitive sports, or 18. We're adding football after asking for it for 6 years in the fall. So I'm excited about that. I think that'll really motivate a good chunk of our students. The debate team, basically, we just wanted to beat Stuart-Hobson. So we decided to start a debate team. That's actually a true story. But I'm a debater. I'm a former debater, and they had a great debate team. So now in the course of 3 years, we have like 50 debaters or now something. They take over the library every Tuesday. And it's amazing like how much it's grown. And I think that's a fantastic activity for kids. But then we have higher achievement. We're the host of higher achievement. So you need to really try to get in at 6th grade for that. But that's a great program for kids. We have GW Changemakers, which is along the lines also of kind of like the government. We have the Eliot-Hine United Nations, which is our student government. We have lots of student-driven leadership roles, which kind of fits with IB. We have middle school mentors who focus on student wellness. We have the Student Voice Council, which is like a restorative committee that actually kids who have lower level tier behaviors can go to with their consent. They go to the Student Voice Council, and then the Student Voice Council listens to, what happened and presents a restorative consequence. And that's been going really well. So I hope to continue expanding that. So we definitely have all the DCIA sports, and we have anime, like the stuff where kids are like, I want this. And then all of a sudden they have it. Chess just popped up in our building. And so I think, those are all great opportunities we all try to provide for kids. We also have creative writing has been a big one. And we try to offer things during lunch as well, because a lot of our students, I think still about 1/3 of them, come from over the river. And so a lot of times they can't stay after school, especially during the winter. Like parents just want them to get home after dark, and I understand that. So we try to also offer as much as possible activities before school and during lunch. And our library is like a huge hub at the school. Kids love it. We have the best librarian in the city, in the country, potentially the world. She's that great. Kids love her. So transitioning from that to technology, I'm going to say 2 very different things about technology. So the first is we're a one-to-one school, because all of DCPS is, and so we have technology in the classrooms. We do have technology focused classes. So we have all students in 6th grade take like Office 365 to learn the basic Office suite. We have a video production as one of our electives, and we also have the design class, there's like an inventions class. There's robotics and automation. There's all kinds of design and modeling classes. So formally, we are teaching technology. We have also kind of made a very intentional decision to move a bit away from technology. So we want kids to have books in their hand. When we started doing that, we like purchased actual books, with pages and pictures, and spend a lot of money on it. But like for texts, right? Like back in the day when we had the textbooks, kids love it, right? Because they want to put their hands on things and look at the pictures, and it's just very different than a computer. So we're going to try to continue to invest in that as much as we can, because we see it's motivating a whole separate group of students. And the other thing, like, of course, that we're hitting up against now is AI, right? So we've started this conversation as a staff, and we are going to try to really lean into teaching AI as a tool for students. And of course, the big debate with teachers, like, no, we can't teach them. First, they have to, so we're going to have them write. They're still going to be writing by hand, not just always on the computer, so that we can see and evaluate what they're doing and their thinking, etc. But AI is also a great tool, and there's absolutely no chance that we're stopping this wave from coming. So if we don't teach kids how to use it as an appropriate tool and get the best work out of it, and it's still their work, then we're missing the boat, and we're not setting them up for success. So we're getting a lot more things now that are getting turned in that are just AI. And I don't think it's because kids, I think they think like, I want to put my best foot forward, and this is probably my best foot, right? So I get it. So we will be doing a big thing this summer where we're figuring all that out. and figuring out how we're actually going to incorporate using AI into some of our instruction. So kids are using how to appropriately use it and what would be inappropriate ways to use it as well.
That's great and so very important. Principal at Dutcham, I'm going to go to you next. Same question about technology.
Sure. Um, if we all remember during COVID, we had to pivot to the use of Canvas, right? Where students were completing assignments online. That is one way that students are still being able to keep their assignments in one space with the use of the computer, that they're completing a lot of their in-class work within the learning management system. And we also ensure that our librarian, who is also amazing, Marlene, you may not have the best librarian. She does a lot
I'll
with,
argue on this.
she does. She came to us from Prince George's County, their loss, our win. She is all about empowering our students with really the proper way to use technology and mirroring it with primary sources. So she spends a significant amount of time getting the students to strike a balance between the use of artificial intelligence and then still being able to go back to create a note card to build a really, really good thesis statement and then be able to develop a really good paper. And so there is a lot of work being done there. I know that some teachers are a bit hesitant around the use of AI. So it's definitely a growing pain, a pain point and a point to grow to help our students how to manage and use the technology in a way that does support them. And I think in this time and this season, especially during study hall, students do have the opportunity to utilize the tools that will help support their learning, but they know that there's also an accountability measure in place to recognize when it's just AI versus their efforts. And other technological ways, at one point we used to have students engaging in coding, and we hope to really bring that back because we know a lot of the most up and coming jobs that will pay very, very well are in the areas of technology, coding, AI.
Absolutely. Principal Frazier, then I'm going to let Principal Clark close.
Yeah. So we are, we're also one-to-one. We use a cart model, so we have computers in classrooms where students need them and when they need them. But other than that, things are more traditional pen and paper, or like hands-on lab experiences or reading books that you can check out from the library. Um, Students do use one thing that we do technology-wise that I know is now like policy across the district is we collect their cell phones and other personal devices at the door. And I think that when we started doing that a few years ago, like just that made a for a world of difference in terms of the culture in our school community, just by reducing conflict. Because really, when students have access to those online social spaces, they are largely unsupervised, right? There's no adult presence in most of them. And so it just added layers of challenge to the work that we were doing. So I think that was a great move. And then I think that's in the same spirit of the way that we do the carts. So the DCPS math curriculum is an online program called Illustrative Math. So all of our math teachers and classrooms have that cart, but they also have printouts that they will use to do problems with pen and paper. We use Reading Plus and Zern, which are two individualized support online programs. Reading Plus meets students where they are as readers and challenges them to improve their fluency and comprehension. And then Zern is a similar program, but in math, where students can do additional lessons aligned to what they're doing in class. And for students who are performing a couple grade levels below, their teacher can assign supporting lessons that meet them more, around the grade level where they're performing on assessments. So I think folks already mentioned a lot of other things that we do too, so I don't want to take too much time belaboring those points. But I think that's, those are the unique ways that we're using technology.
Yeah, I agree with all the amazing principals here. And I know Principal Howard has the same sentiment. And so we support that because, as you know, we're in a very technology driven world, and so that we do have to play a balance of like preparing kids for high school, college, and beyond, but also that they are just kids, and so we are playing that really tough balance. So of course in classroom, technology is used to enhance instruction, right? It helps teachers differentiate. It gives kids and students access to text and resources, and it allows them to research, it allows them to write, revise, do all of these things. And it also helps teachers respond more quickly to student needs. So similar to Principal Frazier, we use it in our math classes with IM. We also have a new curriculum this year with Common Lit. So we use it in our ELA classrooms. Mm-hmm. And then we also use Amplify Science in our science classrooms. So kids are using technology in those classrooms. However, at the same time, we're very mindful of balance, like I've said before, because we know there's strong research with the excessive use of screen time. And so that links to anxiety and stress and all of the things. And even though it's not their personal phone, the kids have this tendency to like sneak off of their work and go to YouTube or go up from all the blocks to find other websites to, play video games. And so because of that, we're very thoughtful about how often we give students technology and what's the purpose of why students are on those devices. But I will say that one place where technology does come alive, and that I'm really grateful for, is in our library, surprisingly. Shout out to Miss Boyd, because I know everyone's talking about their librarian, but Miss Boyd is honestly top notch. Our library program is really incredible, and she uses Makerspace time to give students hands-on opportunities to create, design, and problem solve. And so kids have the opportunity in this Makerspace program to allow their ideas to come to life through technologies. So they're not just consuming technology, they're using it to kind of, create. And so we're really grateful for Miss Boyd to do that. She's literally our technology guru in the ways in which she's teaching us as in admin teachers, everyone, how to better use technology with students. But we're also trying to teach digital citizenship as well, because there's responsibility that comes with technology. And that's really, really important for us to teach our kids. And so you'll notice right now with the history curriculum, they're talking about social media literacy, where they focus a lot on technology and its effects. And one of the things that's coming up in the social media literacy unit in social studies right now that the kids were debating on is like AI. And that has been a thing of like, how do I use AI? What do I use it for? And it was very interesting to see kids have this conversation because like Principal Magrino, just like she said previously, they're not intentionally trying to not do the work, but I think so many times they've relied on it because it's just the easy thing to do. And so what we have been trying to teach them is how do we properly use AI? And this is actually a new challenge for us. And so we are also trying to plan around it as well, to better support students, because it is a useful tool when you're using it properly and not when you're using it to think for you.
I just want to thank these amazing principals. We're at time. I seem to have lost my moderator mojo because I did not get folks to ask questions, but a couple of things there. We have a great PTAs at all of these schools. Please reach out to them. Sarah was on for Stuart for the cluster. Suzanne's Ward 6 parent organization is like amazing, 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 amazing. Get on her email list. If you should go, but also get on her email list. It's awesome. And I know these principals have always been super responsive, and continue to be. That's why they are amazing principals leading these amazing, growing, and student-centered work that's going on there. So really appreciate all of you tonight, and thank you for staying out with us. And again, Thank you, principals. You're awesome.
And thank you, Denise. I really appreciate your moderating. Once again, thank all the principals and the time you spent tonight, and also thank all of you who called in for this. We know it's time out of your evening, and we really appreciate your interest in our neighborhood schools. So, in the interest of time, we're going to sign off. Thank you all for this evening.
Thank you, everyone.